So a while back, I heard of a no joinery technique. What can be more simple than not having to do any joinery whatsoever, just relying upon the strength of the glue to hold things together. So I'm going to give it a whirl, see how we make out. Hi, I'm Dan, and you found Therapy Woodworks, the funky little woodworking studio where we have a lot of fun and sometimes do projects involving wood. Today's project is a very special one. It's a very one that's near and dear to my heart in that this is actually a gift for a special young lady that I've known for about 10 years. She recently graduated high school and is going on to the Emily Carr School of Arts, which is a very prestigious thing to be doing and a very prestigious place to be going. I understand she's majoring in industrial design, and part of that program actually gets them involved in a woodworking shop, which I think is just awesome. So this project this week is kind of going to be focused on simplicity in design. I built her brother a toolkit. He went on to be a budding helicopter mechanic, so I built him a little tool tote and made a video on it, which I'll put a link here somewhere. Now, a lot of the Emily Carr School of Design and Industrial program has to do a lot with drawing and mechanical pencils and different tools of that sort. So I figured that a very small miniature toolbox would be in order. Now, I talk about simplicity of design, and because that's a starting point for anybody. So I've got these 5 pieces of wood here. These were machined from a piece of wood that I pulled out of someone's wood pile. This was an old cedar post and it was destined to be put on the campfire, so I saved it. I have milled it up, so all these pieces are identical. I will be able to put them together using no joinery, just the glue. So let's see what I can do about making a real simple little box. Okay, so before we get started here, we just got to keep a couple of things in mind here. And regarding gluing and grain direction and things like that, and how the lignins and how all of the grain structure of wood actually works when we're gluing, and particularly the strength of it, because this box is relying purely on the strength of the glue in the joint. So, as you know, boards are basically just long strands that are bonded together with a chemical called lignin. So when we talk about gluing, the best way or the best bond that we can possibly get when we're gluing is always along the long strands of the wood. So anytime that we can glue 2 faces together like this, where the grains are all aligned in a line, that is the best gluing structure that we can get. And that is why when we glue panels together, when we put them side by side like this, we're obviously getting the long strands glued together. So what if we cross these strands so that they're not actually going together? Yes, not quite as strong of a glue joint, but still acceptable. And unless you're beating with a mallet or dropping the box on the floor, it's probably going to stay together. There's one more form too where we talk about the end grain joining to a side grain. So that is a weak joint. We're going to try very hard to avoid that weak joint. There's a couple of spots that we may have to do it with this particular technique. However, it will be backed up with some side grain joining also. Now, the one thing that we are going to totally avoid in this situation is when we join 2 pieces end to end. So something like that. This is a joint that is going to fail. It will fail. There is no doubt about it. This is not a strong joint, so we're not going to do that on this project. So just to review, ultimately, a joint like that, where it's long grain to long grain, is best. If we have to go cross grain, we will. If we have to go end grain to side grain, we will. we have to go end grain to end grain, we won't. Okay, with that in mind, let's start figuring stuff out. Hey, after a little bit of deliberation, I've come up with a design that I think will fit the bill for our joinery-less box, keeping in mind all of the gluing strategies. We look at the box here, it's a pretty simple design. It's got the two sides, a bottom and an end. Now the end is long. I've got to cut it down to size yet and then take a piece and put it onto that end. Now if we look at how the strength of each of the glue joints here, we've got a nice long grain to long grain joint here along the sides that glues the sides to the bottom. We have a cross long grain glue joint here on the inside that glues the end to the sides, which is the second best glue joint. And the bottom has an end grain to side grain joint, which is not very good. But it's got this long grain joint here that joins to the sides, and that's going to be very strong. My thoughts are that if I bolster this, because I'm concerned for the end piece here, by putting a piece in here, we now have long grain to long grain connection on the end, and a long grain cross connection on the sides. That's really going to strengthen it up. And the other benefit is that I could take my fifth piece here, and this ledge here is going to be a piece that the top will fit nicely and sit right on top of. I think it's going to be pretty good. We're going to put a little fancy handle on there, glue it all up, call her a day. That'll be a nice little pencil toolbox. Another simplification measure utilized in creating this box was the use of comparative measurements. Because all of the box's individual parts are connected on at least two edges, every part can be related to adjoining parts to determine dimensions. Here I am using the side of the box to set the miter saw stop block, then using the two ends together as shims to cut the bottom to length. Mitered box joints can be difficult to achieve for the novice. I add a small 45-degree chamfer on all of the adjoining edges of the sides of the box using a router. I think this gives the box some simple design definition and easily adds character to the piece. Okay, here we go with our glue up. I've got all my bits and pieces all assembled here. I've got my glue ready. I've got some cleanup water and some shop towels and a straight edge to help me keep things straight, and a little brush and various clamps all ready to go. Okay, as you may or may not know, I'm not the cleanest guy when it comes to glue ups. So the idea is I want to get lots of glue on here, but I don't want to be a messy person and get glue where I shouldn't. So this is PVA glue, type on type 3 for this specific instance. Part of the problem with end grains is that it significantly soaks up the glue. So what I do is I put one coat on, I let it set up for just a minute, and then go back and put a second coat on pretty much toot sweet right away. Okay, the bottom, I'm going to put the two end pieces in place. So I tip the carcass up on the edge. So don't forget now, this is long grain to long grain joint and cross grain to long grain joint. So it's a good glue joint, and that it'll be good and strong. Now these end blocks are getting glue on 4 out of the 6 surfaces because they will be in contact with all the meeting surfaces. And Put the last piece on. Sit it all down. And now the clamping can begin. Try and use my ruler to get things lined up. Equal on the bottom. I use one of my hand screw clamps on each end. Do the same on the other end. Okay, now I gotta make sure my tops are in place. That's good. And that's really good. Look at that. Now I'm gonna use these bar clamps to tighten up the top. Now we're not squeezing the bejesus out of these things. We're just putting enough pressure. So I got pressure this way. I just need a little bit of pressure on these end plates here to hold them that way. So let's put a couple more of these on. There you have it. That'll do it. I'm just going to go around with some water and a shop towel and clean up my mess, and we'll be golden. The art box was looking pretty plain to me, so I had to show off some of my mad woodworking skills. I'm using a piece of black walnut and cutting a 10-degree chamfer on it on the table saw. This will create a Japanese-inspired stylish lid. This is a bit of a high-risk maneuver, as so much of the blade is exposed. But with the tall fence and the micro jig to push the block, it is much safer and keeps my fingers out of the way. Well, it just wouldn't do to have a fancy lid on the art box without a fancy foot to stand on. So I figured I may as well fashion some black walnut as a base. I dug up a ragged piece of walnut from the scrap bin and began the machining process of trimming it on the bandsaw and facing and edging it on the jointer. I drilled 2 holes in the piece of wood to act as a guide to lay out the cut so I could trim it on the table saw. I used the bandsaw to do the final cuts. The drum sander enabled me to finely sand the curved foot, and final sanding was completed with the palm sander on the bench. Hey, here we are for another glue up. You know, as woodworkers, we just can't leave well enough alone, so I had to make a fancy black walnut top for my very simple little cedar box. So how this is going to kind of work is that's going to sit on there, and my fancy walnut top is going to get glued to that. Now, the problem is that I want the top to be exactly centered on the box, but I don't want to rely upon measurements, so I want to glue everything in place and then remove the lid. So how I'm going to achieve this is I'm going to take these little shims and I'm going to put them on top like that. And then I'm going to place my cedar top insert that fits like a glove. So now it's sitting proud of the surface. So then I can take this and take the black walnut fancy top and set it in place exactly how it lines up with the box edges. Problem is, I don't want it to sit there just in case I spill glue, which is a probability, and I don't want to glue the top into the box. That would be a problem. So I want to pull this out right away as soon as it's glued. But how do I assure that this doesn't move on that? Well, we're going to use some cryoanilate glue alongside of the tight blonde glue. So this will give me an immediate bond that won't come apart after about 20 seconds because I'm going to use an accelerator. And then this will give me the long-lasting glue effect. Again, no joinery, folks. We're just gluing long strand grain to long strand grain. Let's get her done. Is we're going to take a strip of CA glue and just put it down the center. Then we're going to take some regular PVA glue, a couple millimeters away from the edge. Okay, so we've got some very quick acting glue and we've got some very well, slower acting glue that is going to be much stronger. Take the underside of the fancy walnut lid, and I'm going to hit it with some accelerator. Plenty enough. Now I got to be real careful here. Here it goes. The moment of truth. Because this will almost instantly bond itself, and I won't have any room for error. Okay, so for 20 seconds, we're going to just put a little bit of pressure on there so that that CA glue actually sticks. Are your fingers crossed? Let's see. Ta-da! It worked! Son of a gun. Carefully apply these little spring clamps so it puts a little bit of pressure. You know, the only thing that we need that's missing here, I think we need a fancy handle to go with our fancy lid. Have you seen the other thing that I've done? Is made some fancy feet for the not so fancy box. So these are just strips of black walnut. We're going to glue these onto the bottom. There's lots of guidelines on the bottom here, so that's not going to move. Do the same with the second runner. You always want to put some sort of legs on boxes consisting of about, I don't know, a couple of square centimeters. All right. There we go. Stuff is glued up. Put something heavy on it. Pile some more stuff on it. Good enough. Let's let her dry. This fancy little handle has to go on right there. Just like that. And again, long grain to long grain. So it should be a good glue joint, good strong glue joint. This one's going to be a little bit difficult too. So I'm going to have to use the old 2 types of glue trick. I'm going to put some cyanoacrylate on the ends and then just regular wood glue in the center. It's a pretty narrow piece. I'm a little bit concerned, and I definitely don't want a lot of glue squeeze out. Put a little CA without gluing the lid to my fingers like I did last time. Actually works. Forgetting. We're going to give it a little shot. The accelerator, shot. I'm going to line up that mark right there. Then I'm going to carefully put that one in there. And we're going to hold some good pressure here for the 20 seconds it requires. Let's tempt fate. That's it. That's our fancy little box made. I kind of like it. We're going to put a coat of circa 1850 paste varnish on here. I like using paste varnish. It's a very durable and it's easy to put on. You apply it, you wipe it off, but do that multiple coats. So I just apply it with a brush, put it on decently thick. That's a coat on the lid. Let's put a little coat on the box, just so we can see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to carry on and coat the rest of the box. I'll bring you guys in to have a quick look here. So I let that paste varnish set up for about 15 minutes or so, not much longer, because you don't want it to get too sticky. And then basically you're just going to wipe it all off. Don't be afraid to buff it up a little bit, because all the stuff that you want remaining, all that honey good sweetness is actually already inside the wood. So between coats, what I'll do is I'll take some 400 grit paper and I'll give the surface a light rub and then just reapply a coat just like I just did. I'll probably do, 5 coats. Every coat that you do, the sheen will get a little bit more and more. All right, we're gonna do a little flocking. Yep, flocking, I said flocking. Basically flocking is a texture coating that goes inside of the box. We have a little mini flocker here opposed to the maxi flocker, mini flocker, and glue. 3 steps. Put some glue on before the glue dries and sets up. put some flocking in the little mini flocker and you blow it all on there. Really the only thing that you can mess up, you gotta seal the wood inside first. If you don't seal it, then the glue doesn't work appropriately. So here we go with flocking. Anyway, so first step in the process, give the glue a little finagle there. You can see that I've taped off exactly where I don't want any of the glue to go with some blue painter's tape. And it's just a matter of getting the glue all over the inside of everywhere you want the flocking to stick. And that's about it. I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, I got the glue all brushed in there. It's all applied very, very evenly. So from here, all we do is we take some of the flocking and actually pour it into the cardboard tube. So you put the over tube on the bottom tube. And as you can see, there's just some holes, just like a salt shaker. As you move the inner and the outer, here comes the flocking. Holy flock. So I like to start down in the corners, down in the really hard spots to get. And you don't want to get it blobbed in there, but you don't have to worry about getting too much. And I like to use a light to see where I have and haven't got it and where it's thin. How you doing? No, that's not how we start. Oh, Dan. I am the biggest klutz in the world. Ow. You build me a better bench. That'd be my phone. Okay, I gotta do it for the outtakes. Oh, look at me, I'm flocking. You can't get enough of that word. Flocking. Who thought of that? Hello. It's really just 3 steps. I don't know. Just in case you haven't heard enough flocking jokes, we're all flocked up. Sometimes I crack myself up.